does this kid just have ice water in his veins? I mean,
he's not. To me, he's like their third or fourth best player. But
really?
We'll get into it. I mean, but he makes big shots, and he's not afraid of the big moment.
Welcome back to Courtside with GametimeCT, your place for high school boys and girls basketball from across Connecticut. Join us as we discuss hoops, break down the polls, shout out the kids that had great games, and just shine a light on high school hoops across the state. As always, please like and subscribe to GametimeCT YouTube channel. You can come on to GametimeCT.com, check out all the polls, all the top performers, all the great stories we have, and as always, check out our awesome Instagram feed, which has reels and stories up every single day from games, from the polls, from everything. I am the girls basketball beat writer, Scott Erickson, and with me, as always, is the boys basketball writer, Joe Morelli. Joe, how are you?
I want to know you got a hat on the basketball behind you?
I got my little friend here. It's a toy basketball. He's got the GametimeCT hat on. And I see that you're in a new location. You're like a phoenix rising from Arizona there in the sun.
That's my son's art project from he's very talented, and thankfully he takes after my wife and not me. So I figured I'd try to brighten my day and move to the kitchen. So it's very nice in here.
I love it. Joe, you have been really, really busy. I want to get right into what happened Sunday night up in Fairfield. We had number 1 versus number 2 at the Pitt Center. It was just as good as advertised. Joe was there. He got amazing video. He got the interviews. It's crazy how this game even came to be because it was supposed to be on a Saturday. They're playing on a Sunday. There's no other games. Hill House beats Notre Dame Prep. These teams are 1 and 2. Joe, tell me about this instant classic.
Well, first of all, with Hill House beating Notre Dame West Haven, it dropped Notre Dame West Haven out of the top spot. They fell to 3, and it really kind of set up 1 versus 2, and it just kind of worked out that they were playing the following weekend right after they both became 1. Notre Dame Prep became number 1, and St. Bernard became number 2. So this was a non-conference matchup set up by the two schools in the offseason, and they reached out to Sacred Heart University. As you alluded to, the game was supposed to be Saturday and being on Sunday night. Not a bad crowd considering, A, it's Sunday night, B, St. Bernard had to travel well over an hour, and C, a certain team from Kansas City is going back to the Super Bowl for the 3rd time. So you're competing with all that.
Yeah.
But it was a tremendous game. So, as we all know, Tyler Mangual hit the game-winning 3-point shot, running buzzer beater. I happened to get good video. I was right in line with him. And, once in a while you get lucky. But yeah, the kid has done it before. First of all, last year against Colby Cathedral, he hit a similar. A shot in the paint, if I remember correctly.
In the state tournament, right? I mean, in the state tournament.
It was in the quarterfinals against Colby Cathedral. The St. Bernard had a big lead. Colby came all the way back, forced overtime. He hits his shot. They moved on to the semifinals, and as we know, they went to the final. They lost to Notre Dame West Haven in the Division I final up at Mohegan Sun Arena. So St. Bernard.
Joe, does this kid just have ice water in his veins? I mean,
he's not. To me, he's like their third or fourth best player. But
really?
We'll get into it. I mean, but he makes big shots, and he's not afraid of the big moment. So Notre Dame Prep trailed by 19 at halftime, 22 early in the 3rd quarter, and then the comeback starts. And you think I think it's over. I can start right, and you know how it goes, Scott. We're writing the story, and then all of a sudden this team's down 15. It's down 11. It was 16, I think, at the end of 33 quarters. And then they just keep coming, and then they tie the game up 2 different times late in the game. And then they get a basket and foul to go ahead by 2 with 4.9 seconds left. So, Scott, St. Bernard calls timeout. They're now down by 1. I mean, the only time they trailed in this game was 5-4, I believe. So, and again, they have a 22-point lead. You think, oh, my God, they're going to have a long bus ride home. So the kid misses the free throw for Notre Dame, okay? So now they're up 65-63. Notre Dame coach Brian Pritchard told me that the plan was not to foul him in the backcourt, make her miss, but to foul whoever had the ball once they crossed the timeline with a foul to give. They missed it. Curtis Marshall hits Tyler Mangual with a pass, running three-point shot. It's good. Place goes crazy. And Tyler Mangual talked about the game-winning shot afterwards.
Yeah, it was just my teammates. I knew they had my back. Missed what make them. That's how we're going to keep it going.
You've made these kind of shots before the end of the game, if I remember from last year against East. Well, how big and how important is this to you guys do?
Guys, we know that we're number one in the state now, so that's a big thing for us. So we got to keep on working. It doesn't stop here. We play a lot of away games, and these guys, I'll take them anywhere with me. And I know it's going to be a dogfight no matter where. So, on the way.
It's kind of stunning, though, that Tyler, I was on his butt about the rebound that he left for them to get the N1 or whatever, and he's just a big-time player, man. He's not afraid of the moment. He's ready to go at any point, and I don't know. I'm speechless, honestly.
Greatest coach of all time.
It's a big win for us. We just stayed together. Even though they came back, we got out of here. We were just stuck with it. We kept, we stayed together, we just kept talking, and nobody got frustrated and none of that. So his shot is just big for us.
Yeah, and we also heard from St. Bernard coach Mark Jones, and we also heard from Curtis Marshall, who had 17 points and 15 rebounds, and was just they couldn't. I mean, Notre Dame Prep had nobody to stop him, but it was an incredible game, as we have talked about.
This kid Tyler Mangual is just incredible. I mean, he's got like a clutch gene. What makes him so good in these moments? I mean, he's not necessarily even their top player, is he?
No, he's not. I mean, Emery Gray was a first-team Game-Time All-Stater last year. I mean, Amari Marshall and Curtis Marshall brothers, and they're tough to stop. I mean, Tyler Mangual can make an argument he's their fourth-best player, but again, against Colby Cathedral last year, Division I quarterfinals, he hits the game-winning shot in overtime. He's got that clutch gene, as you said, and it's something that you need in the tournament to be standing there with the trophy at the Mohegan Sun Arena in mid-March, and that kid has it for sure.
What was the atmosphere? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but like, how many people were there? Did you get an attendance total? Was the lower bowl kind of full? It
wasn't bad. It was, I think, because of it's a Sunday night, because St. Bernard had a long way to travel, because of the AFC Championship game. I just think it would have been a better sell earlier in the day or on a Saturday, but they didn't have the availability, so they did it Sunday night. But considering all those factors for Sunday night, I thought it was a good crowd. It was pretty loud when Notre Dame Prep's making its comeback. I really couldn't hazard a guess. I do like the arena. I wish they had more parking. I wish they had more parking, but it's a very nice arena, and they've obviously changed it the way it was logistically set. It used to walk in and it was this way, and now it's that way. And I like it. It's a nice arena. It could be a really nice home court advantage for the for Sacred Heart University. But it's nice to have games in those kind of venues. I mean, Notre Dame Prep played Colby Cathedral at University of Bridgeport. Hillhouse played Notre Dame West Haven the first time at the Mohegan Sun Arena. You want to see these things in these kind of venues during the season. I think it adds to it. And again, I would love to see a game there again.
Absolutely, man. So that was 1 versus 2. Obviously, this is going to affect the poll. Take us through the poll now. First starting up top, and then break it down the rest of it for us, Joe.
Yeah, well, St. Bernard obviously with that shot vaults to number 1 in Connecticut in this week's poll. At number 10, Staples. They suffered its first loss last week against Greenwich, bounced back to beat Wilton, but they dropped from 6 to 10. At number 9 is Holy Cross. They are the team to beat in the NBL, and their senior Elijah Parker is just 44 points away from 2,000. He probably will get it sometime this week. At number 8, Hillhouse remains in that 8th spot. I mean, we've talked about how difficult their schedule has been with Notre Dame West Haven twice, St. Bernard they lost to, Mount Vernon. The Academics are 8th. Number 7 is Windsor, also in the same spot as last week. They have a big week coming up. They get a chance to face Manchester. Last time around, Manchester came from 27 points down to beat the Warriors. At number 6, East Catholic played just one game last week and lost at Northwest Catholic 62-57. The Eagles dropped from 4 to 6. At number 5, Northwest Catholic, up from number 9 from the previous week. The Lions, again, they beat East Catholic. That's that old school, old-time Northwest Conference rivalry. Those coaches, John Mirabella from Northwest Catholic, Luke Riley from East Catholic, have known each other for years, decades. And Northwest Catholic at number 5 in the powerful CCC. Speaking of the CCC, Manchester moves up to number 4. Just one game last week, they beat Lewis Mills, suffered their first loss back on January 17th against East Catholic, and they ended up playing East Catholic again this week. At number 3, Notre Dame Prep drops 2 spots. Despite the comeback and despite a loss at the buzzer, they do drop to number 3. And that's because at number 2, Notre Dame and West Haven, with the 2 losses, one out of state, one to Hill House by 1, they have 5 first-place votes. And the other 12 went to number 1, St. Bernard.
Yeah, so a lot of movement in the poll, even though there weren't a lot of teams coming in and out there, Joe.
Yeah, nobody dropped out this week. I mean, Glastonbury's number 11, Bloomfield's number 12. I think it's safe to say, and as you alluded to, we have the midseason report on GametimeCT. We have the 5 players we missed from the preseason, the watch list this week on GametimeCT. Point I'm trying to make is the CCC is the best league and in the deepest league, and I don't think there's any question that they're number 1 in Connecticut, regardless of how it turns out in March. They're the deepest league, and I don't think it's close right now.
No, they're the conference to beat for sure.
Yes.
We actually had a girls team in the poll for the first time in 2025. We had a team drop out. Mercy dropped out. They lost the game to a team from Rhode Island and fell out of the poll. Let's take a look now at the latest girls basketball poll. Coming in at number 10 for the first time in 2025, we have a new team. It's East Catholic. The Eagles beat Conard by 14, and they are now the number 10 team in the poll. Number 9, Warde. The Mustangs have a huge crosstown rivalry game against Ludlow coming up on Friday. Number 8, Conard. The Red Wolves dropped a few spots, and they play Northwest Catholic this week. Number 7, Stanford. Circle your calendars. The Black Knights host undefeated Greenwich Tuesday, February 4th. Number 6, Southington. They get big challenges from Rocky Hill and Berlin this week. Probably their toughest week of the season. Number 5, Sheehan. 2 very winnable games this week, and then they close the season with Hamden, Mercy, Sacred Heart Academy, and West Haven, all of those difficult games. Number 4, the aforementioned Greenwich Cardinals. They beat Trumbull. They remain one of the only 2 undefeated teams in the state. Greenwich is for real. Number 3, Sacred Heart Academy. They survived a tough road game at Fitch. Now they get round 2 against Mercy Friday night. Number 2, Holy Cross stays at number 2. They rebounded from their loss to Northwest Catholic with 2 dominating NVL wins. And number 1, as always, Northwest Catholic. The Lions have not actually played since beating Holy Cross last week. They get a tough test from Conard this week, but the Lions remain number 1. That is the girls' poll as we see it.
Hey, Scott, I'm curious. Again, I've only seen 2 girls' games myself, but I know we've talked about this a little bit in past episodes. Seems like to me the CCC and the SEC are close. Is it close or not really? And how is the FCC as far as top leagues?
Look, Northwest Catholic is the best team in the state.
Yes.
I don't think there's a debate until someone beats them.
Right.
The rest, the top of the SEC is probably better than any league when you look at Sheehan, Sacred Heart, Mercy, and if you want to throw Hamden in there, you can, because Hamden's a very good team too. And there's a couple other really good teams, including Foreign and Amity, who are also playing really well. Mm-hmm. I think it's neck and neck right now. It's not as clear cut as it is with the boys, because you have Southington in the CCC, you have Conard, now you have East Catholic that's jumped up. And as I mentioned, these teams don't always all play each other, so it can become a little bit difficult. I would put them neck and neck right now. And then with the FCAC probably coming in at 3rd place and the SWC behind that right now. I know the FCAC has 3 top 10 teams, but I don't know if their overall quality is as good as those other conferences, although they've beaten a few of them. So that's why we play the games in March, Joe. That's why we play the games in March.
That is why. You're absolutely right.
Listen, shifting gears here. I was up in lovely Winston, Connecticut this week to talk to, all the way. Route 8 actually ends up there. And
it does. And then you could end up getting yourself into New York City up at the Mass Turnpike eventually.
Yeah, you're close to New York State and Massachusetts right there.
Right.
I know our buddy Sean Bowley likes to ski up at Butternut. I think I'm not sure about that. But I was up there to see Emily Arel. Emily Arel, we have a story coming on her this week. Plays for Gilbert up there. This week last week she became Gilbert's all-time leading scorer.
Right.
Then she became the Berkshire League's all-time leading scorer. And then she became the 22nd CIAC girls basketball player to ever reach the 2,000 point mark. Killingly's Tracy Liss is the state career scoring leader at 3,681. Emily's not going to get there because that's an insane number that I don't think will ever be broken.
She was an incredible player, Scott. I remember her in college. When I saw her in college, she was awesome.
I mean, 3,600 points is nuts. I mean, just nuts. No girl's going to ever come close to that.
No.
The only individual record now that Emily is still chasing is 2,149 points. Overall Berkshire League record set by Dave Vignier. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He went to Litchfield in 1979. The other cool part of this story is Emily's really good friends with Northwestern's Maddie Topa. And for those that don't know, Northwestern and Gilbert are in the same town. And those two players are probably going to end up as the top all-time leading scorers in Berkshire League history. They're really good friends. They live in a small town together. They play some AAU basketball together. And I don't know. I just think it's a really awesome story. I'm going to go up and see them both play against each other in their final game on February 7th. And I love Winstead. I love that small town vibe. I love going up there. I love that that's where Route 8 ends. They have the weirdest museum ever. Do you know what museum they have in Winstead, Joe?
No.
The American Museum of Tort Law. It's a real thing. It's downtown. I've driven past it many times. I've never gone in. Have not bought a ticket to go in. But I guess when Ralph Nader is your native son, you get the Tort Law Museum in downtown Winstead. But
there you go.
Maybe one day I'll go in. Maybe I won't. Who knows? It's one of the strangest museums.
So when people are going to be getting ready for Super Bowl parties, you'll be going to Winstead to be talking basketball, which is very interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And I always like covering games Super Bowl weekend. I just feel like it's a great sports weekend. So, yeah, I'm going to be up in Winstead watching those two Berkshire League legends kind of finish their careers against each other.
Right.
The other girl that I wanted to shine a light on here is Northwest Catholic, who we talk a lot about on this show. But Maeve Staunton at Northwest Catholic. Abby Casper tends to grab a few more headlines because she's the leading scorer most nights. But Staunton is also an all-state caliber, first-team all-state caliber player as well. She's averaging 13 points and 7 assists a game, but there's so much more to her game than stats. And when I saw her in person last week against Holy Cross, you really get a sense of everything that she does in the game in terms of moving the ball around, facilitating the offense. It all goes through Staunton. Defensively, she works really hard, hounding the ball handlers. She's tenacious on both ends of the floor. Staunton and Casper together is the best 1-2 punch in the state for sure. And along with the other talented players around them, that they are what makes Northwest Catholic so tough to beat. So I just wanted to quickly shine a light on Maeve Staunton there. Not that she needs another light shine on her. She's a great soccer player and a great basketball player.
And as we mentioned in the show, I believe last week, she's committed to go to UConn to play soccer. And
that's right.
She's lived her career in the state tournament and been to 2 finals, and maybe her senior year they'll win one. It's not easy. It's nice to get to Trinity Health Stadium, but it's tough to win it. I mean, Lewis Mills beat them last year, this past fall. So, but yeah, that's a tremendous team. And I imagine it, unlike boys. In the higher divisions, not because there's a few undefeated teams still. It might be hard to prevent them from running the table.
It could be, and they're also in Class L. So, I mean, they're not going to be playing Sacred Heart, Mercy, Holy Cross in the state tournament, which is that's the way it is. Yep. I had a couple of questions for you on the boys' side.
Yeah.
We heard about this Bloomfield kid that maybe possibly broke the all-time assists record in the state. Joe, what do you know about this story?
Well, let's first, I had to do a little look up myself. To answer your question, first of all, Cayden Smith from Bloomfield, a senior, has 1,000 points and 1,000 assists, which is a pretty incredible statistic in itself. Cayden Smith, I just looked it up ahead of the podcast just to remember, because they went to the final in Division IV. They beat Granby, and he scored 12 points in that final. It kind of all runs together, as you know. all these games. You go to Mohegan Sun, you see so many over the course of 20 years or however many. And I had forgotten that he played in that game. But and their coach died, and they have a new coach in there now. And they went to the final the next year in Division III, and they lost WCA for their career. And last year they struggled, but they put it together for the tournament. And this year they're right outside of receiving votes. What Bloomfield is saying is that he's the first to have 1,000 points and 1,000 assists. Now, unfortunately, unlike football, we have a state record book. We have no way to corroborate that. It is very possible.
There's no way to know about assists. There's no way to know about assists because
nobody kept good records.
There's no central record, and the school records on assists can be so wildly inaccurate, as we all know.
Yeah, and then it's not a knock on them. I mean, I think they'd like Game Time to acknowledge, but we can't because we do not know. I mean, Calvin Murphy, the great from Norwalk and the Hall of Famer, he had all these points, but he could have easily had 1,000 assists. We just don't know. It's very hard. Again, nobody kept track of it, so there's no way of knowing. So they want to say they're the first, and that's fine. But regardless, the accomplishment is great in itself, and he's a nice player. And and they're in Division II, and they very well might be back in Mohegan again for the third time in 4 years. So, again, I saw him. He was the MVP of the game when they beat New London back at the GHPA Classic in December. Nice player, very nice team. Great accomplishment. Can't corroborate the fact that it's the all-time best.
I get asked a lot, I'm sure you do too, like who's the state leader in rebounds? What's the state record for this? And unfortunately, other than career point totals, which we seem to have a pretty good grasp on, there's no way to know that stuff because a lot of it's not kept and a lot of it's not shared. And there is no central location, like you said, for the football records of someone keeping that. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is with high school sports.
But please, it kind of reminded me of a point, Scott. If whoever's listening, if you know of someone who may be in the neighborhood who has a record of assist totals, please reach out to GametimeCT. Reach out to us. We're not hard to find. I like to know myself because, again, 1,000 assists, I can't even think about how many games you play and how many assists you average. That's a lot. That is a lot of assists you got to have in a game. That's it's an incredible accomplishment. I mean, again,
someone else needs to score all those points, right? Like an assist doesn't count unless someone scores.
Well, he had the brothers, so those guys used to be pretty good players. The brothers who play football too, and their names are escaping me at the moment. But I mean, and J.C. Williams a couple years ago before he transferred to St. Patrick's School. So he had guys who could score. There's no two ways about it. But again, he's another selfish player in Cayden Smith, and he's going to be an integral part of a try to win the best conference in the CCC and win a state championship at the Mohegan.
And then you also got a kid chasing 2,000 points. We just had one on the girls' side in Emily Arel. We have another one chasing it in Manitoba. But who on the boys' side? We've got someone chasing 2,000 points here. Yeah,
Elijah Parker from Holy Cross. He's been a second-team All-State for us for a number of years, and he's actually signed to go play at Central Connecticut State University. He needs 44 points to achieve 2,000. And again, we have our list of 2,000. You can find that on GametimeCT. You can Google search it. We have the complete list. He plays at Naugatuck on Tuesday and then at Waterbury Career on Friday. So in all likelihood, he gets it this week. I mean, he's a leak-out scorer. He does a lot of things. He's very unselfish. And you know what? And they're in Division I, too. They can surprise some teams, Holy Cross. I mean, they're definitely the favorite in the NBL. And as I mentioned before, it's not going to be easy to win 4 games. But if things fall Holy Cross's way, the Crusaders could make a run to Mohegan. I'm not sure they will. But, again, 2,000 points is 2,000 points. It's like 3,600 points, just like 1,000 assists. They're great numbers. They're great statistics, and you get remembered forever. And he's going to get it. Just a question of when.
There's been so many great games so far. We got a lot of great games coming up this week, too. Joe, what are we looking at from the boys' side for the games that people should go out and check out this week?
Yeah, we haven't talked a ton about the Fs yet. Outside of Staples, we mentioned Richfield in the hoop hall. But, they've been kind of quiet. To me, I think they're the second best league in the state by virtue of them beating the heck out of the SEC in the opening day challenge back in December. you got the best 4 teams right now playing off against each other. You have Ridgefield, unbeaten Ridgefield. Still, they may not be the vintage Ridgefield teams, but they're still there against unbeaten Fairfield Ludlow. When I say unbeaten, I mean unbeaten in the league. I believe they're both 6-0. That's an FCX showdown in Fairfield Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And we also have that night Staples, number 10 in the state, hosting Fairfield Warde. So you're going to get I think you're going to see some things shake out, and maybe you get a little bit of separation between the top 4. We'll see. And we mentioned earlier we got top 10 rematch. We got Windsor at Manchester. Again, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Manchester down 27 points, second half, comes all the way back to beat Windsor 95-94. Don't think the Warriors have forgotten that. I'm sure it's going to be another high-scoring affair. I don't know if it'll be in the 90s, Scott, but it probably will be close. That'll be there. Ludlowe and Warde face off against each other on Friday, the 31st. And again, I mean, you don't want to lose both games this week if you're the Fairfield. I mean, one of the Fairfield schools, because you're going to fall out of the race really quick. But that's a big game too. And then, of course, you have a rematch of West Haven and Hillhouse in West Haven. Hillhouse has won 6 straight. Hillhouse handed West Haven's first loss earlier this month. That's become a really intense rivalry, and it's going to be important for seeding in both the SEC and Division II tournaments.
We got some good ones on the girls' side, too.
Yeah.
Starting Wednesday, number 8 Conard, number 1 Northwest Catholic. Just lost a little bit of luster when East Catholic beat Conard last week, but it's still a huge one in the CCC. This could be the last big regular season test for the Lions in terms of them going undefeated in the regular season. Right. It also features some of the teams, the best players in the state. As we mentioned, Staunton and Casper from Northwest Catholic, and Emily Knowles of Conard, just 3 really, really terrific players. The other game I'm looking at this week is a fantastic small school crossover game. Coventry at Wyndham, Thursday, 6 p.m. Both teams come in with just 1 loss. Wyndham's gunning for a top seed in Class M. Coventry's currently the top seed in Class S. They have freshman Haley Mayo, who's been just a double machine all season for the Patriots. And seniors Jalise Rivera and Anaya Jenkins have been leading the Whippets. Whippets, just such a great name. I always got to root for Wyndham because of the Whippets.
Kind of like the little noises of Hail Ray.
Yeah, the little noises of Hail Ray. You know what? I think we have to do a name thing next week, maybe. A little name game poll. The little noises are great. The bell ringers are great, but I'll take the Whippets. Okay. And then I have Ludlowe Warde too. Ludlowe beat Warde in December. Both teams have high-level players, Ryan Goldman and Warde. Kate Simidor from Ludlowe, who's just been lighting it up and setting school records.
Did she have 39 points? Was that the other one?
So she had 30 against Norwalk and set a school record with 8 3-pointers. Then she scored 39 against St. Joseph and broke her own school record with 9 3-pointers. And that same game became the school's all-time leading scorer. So
what's the chances she goes over 40?
She already scored 40 one time this season, so there you go, Joe.
Okay, well, maybe she'll do it again. Now remember it this time. Yeah.
I don't know if she'll go over 40 against Warde, the way that Warde plays defense, but if she does, that's super impressive. But whenever you're putting up over 30 a night, you're doing something right. Kate Simidor having a great season for Ludlowe. And then finally, Friday night, Mercy at Sacred Heart, number 3 Sacred Heart. Mercy has not beaten a ranked team in 3 tries, so they get another shot at the Sharks this week. This game's being played for charity called Morgan's Message, which strives to eliminate the stigma surrounding mental health issues that student athletes may or may not have. You can buy tickets, you can buy T-shirts, all that stuff ahead of the game through the schools. They're going to have like a DJ and a 50-50 raffle. It should be a fun night, and it's for a really, really good cause. So if you get a chance to go to Sacred Heart on Friday night, that would really be for a good cause. So those are the girls' games this week. A lot of stuff happened this week. We had a really, really busy show. Obviously, that number 1, number 2 matchup was so awesome. As always, go on to GametimeCT.com. Check out all of our stories. Check out the GametimeCT Instagram page and the GametimeCT YouTube page. Please like and subscribe this podcast. Like and subscribe GametimeCT. For Joe and for producer Danny behind the scenes, I'm Scott. And we will see you next time, courtside with GametimeCT.